You read the title? You recognize this shirt? You know that once again I am discussing The Maze Runner this evening. So that's twice in a week and 3 times in 10 months that I'm discussing this franchise that I am very much on the record as not being a fan of. Why? Why? Why do I do this to myself? Why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this? Because a fan asked me to, duh! My last video about the Scorch trials that came out Sunday, this is now Tuesday night, left my biggest fan, Tracy, wanting more, and he demanded it in the comments, and you know, here I am doing it. Tracy, this one's for you. I hope you enjoy it, man. Everyone else can go to hell, but I hope you enjoy this. And I'm also going to make a quick little announcement kind of in the theme of that before we get started. On YouTube, I currently sit at 87 subscribers, and that is awesome. Seriously, to each and every one of you, all 87 of you, thank you. The fact that I'm able to do this, the fact that I'm able to continue to make these episodes, which I love doing so much, is because of you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you for joining me on this just weird movie-filled journey that I'm currently on, and I hope we all see it through to the end, and if it even does end, who knows, but thank you all. And as I'm here at 87 right now, I extend this offer to whoever my next 13 subscribers are. Leading up to 100, each subscriber I get will be entered into a raffle to win a chance to pick something for me to review. Anything you want. I will, veto if it's too weird or I can't get a hold of it. But I'm a very open-minded guy, and if you want me to do something completely batshit crazy, I'm probably down. So we will find something weird or something more, whatever you want. Whatever you want it to be, I will discuss it. But that's enough business. So for Tracy and for all my other 87 fans, I give you my continued rant about the Scorch trials. But let's actually start with that title right there for a second here. The full official title actually isn't just The Scorch Trials like it was with the book, because no, that's dumb. It's now The Maze Runner Scorch Trials, because they really needed to stick those 2 words in between the words that were already there. Now, I will say that I do get why, or at least the theory behind why this happened. It's kind of the thing with young adult novels right now, probably having something to do with Harry Potter, and that felt good when that popped. All the Harry Potter movies are Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter and the... Potter. Anyway, you get the point. So now everything has to be like that. The Divergent movies are no longer just Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant, and Allegiant Part 2. It's now Divergent, the Divergent series, Insurgent, and the Divergent series, Allegiant Part 1, and the Divergent series, Allegiant Part 2. And then you got the Twilight movies. It wasn't enough. That was just Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 2. It's now Twilight, the Twilight Saga, New Moon, the Twilight Saga, Eclipse, and so on. While I get it, you're doing it as a really forced way to try and make your movies feel bigger and more important than they actually are. It's also pretty annoying. Like, we know that these movies are in the same series as each other. Like, they have the same characters, they have the same themes, they have the same ideas. Like, we as the movie-going audiences are smart enough to realize that these are the sequels. And these books, when they were books, did fine without this. Like, Divergent was just Divergent, Insurgent was just Insurgent, and so on. And as the books, they sold just fine, and people figured out just fine that this was a contained series. They didn't need to add in the other little title bit there. So why are you doing it with the movies? Especially here, with the Scorch trials, because adding Maze Runner to a movie that doesn't have a maze that is being run in it, it's weird. Like, it makes your title a misnomer. And honestly, I haven't seen a misnomer this extreme since Prison Break Season 2, when they're no longer in a prison. Like, everybody was making fun of that back in the day, like me and my friends and my family and everything, and now they're doing it with the Maze Runner. I mean, and It's not. It doesn't even stop there, because the Scorch trials really has nothing to do with anything at all. Like, I'm seriously, I'm very confuddled by this, because the Scorch trials for the book, I haven't read the book, but I've read a little bit about it online. It sounded like there was, like a test going on that the kids weren't really aware of, kind of similar to when they were in the maze. So, it's like a theme of the series. But in the movie, the kids just escape from the bad guys, and then the Scorch trials are just them running through a desert from one location with stuff and things and people to another location with stuff and things and people to another location with stuff and things and people, and so on 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 until the movie just kind of stops. So there's no trials. There's no test going on. This title for this movie is a double misnomer. There's no maze being run, and there's no trials being given. I mean, maybe there's the metaphorical trials, but that doesn't... I mean, even then, like, these are just kind of random events. They're not really adding up to anything, and, like, thematically and emotionally and character arc-wise, all the characters are in essentially the same place they were as the beginning. So the trials in, like, a metaphorical sense doesn't really work, because none of the characters learn anything. Nothing ever really gets progressed. Which is another problem with this franchise that I talked about in my other video. Like, these movies... Okay, instead of pretending that your movies have more going on and they're bigger and grander than they actually are by doing, like, crap like the Divergent series, Insurgent, or the Twilight Saga, New Moon, just make them big and grand. Tell some awesome stories that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but also have the opportunity to be opened up for sequels. The original Star Wars is one of the greatest movies ever made, not because it drops a whole bunch of plot teases at the end of it, but because it's a contained story with the potential for sequels, and those sequels came out, and they were contained stories. Yeah, a lot of people try and argue that Empire isn't really a contained story because, Han is out needing to be rescued, and it ends on the note of Chewie and Lando going out to find them. But everything else is really wrapped up. It's not really that much of a cliffhanger, really. Like, the story does come to an official end. Like, Luke's arc about learning what it's going to take for him to really become a Jedi, and the realizations about his father and his past and, like, his potential futures and things like that, he's a different person than at the beginning of the movie. And so that is a contained story. But the Scorch Trials isn't. At all. It begins with the kids being rescued by an organization called... Well, they're not wicked, or at least they're pretending to not be wicked, only to then be discovered 5 minutes later that they are wicked. That's not a twist. Let's make that very clear here. And, Bob's Burgers has an episode about this. There's a difference between lying to your audience and a twist. They are not the same thing. So this company going, oh, no, we're not wicked. We're fighting against wicked, only for it to be realized that they are, in fact, wicked is not a twist. It's just dumb. It's filler. It's just stretching out the plot because you don't have an actual story to tell. And so again, these kids, it opens with them being rescued by this corporation or this group that's pretending to be fighting against wicked, for it to be revealed that they're wicked, and then the kids run from them, and the entire movie is them running from these people. And then it ends. Spoilers. Like, at this point, you've either seen it and you don't care. So, spoilers. The official ending of this movie is when the kids they have a random meeting with the Wicked group because one of them sells them out, and then one of the kids is taken, and then the end of the movie is, let's go back and get him. That's it. Nothing is accomplished. The characters are the exact same people they are at the beginning, and at the end, nothing is accomplished at all. This movie is nothing but a way to lasso you in to go see the next movie. But as I said before, the very first time I talked about The Maze Runner, if you spend your entire story... Ooh, excuse me. Ooh, water. If you spend your entire story attempting to just rope people into coming in for the sequel, what reason do they have to come back for that sequel? We don't care about these characters. We don't care about this world. We don't care about these things getting resolved because they make no sense. In addition to this story just not being contained and just continuously just trying to pull us in, it doesn't even make sense. And I've been told that in the end, it does make sense. And you know what? Cool. I'm glad that James Dashner actually does know how to end a story. But he has yet to demonstrate it. Or in the book that I read, in these movies, are the exact same thing. You need to tell contained stories, and your rules and events and everything needs to be cohesive. It all needs to go together. Nothing in the Maze Runner goes together. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, so the basic story, again, spoilers from this point on, is a bunch of kids are in a maze. And they can't find the way out of the maze, and the maze is ever changing. And then one day, this kid Thomas, who's the lead character, and he's a very boring lead, joins them in the maze, and he's like, oh, okay, so we gotta get out of here? Okay, 3 days later, he figures out how to get out of there. 2 years these kids have been in this maze, and they can't figure it out. Thomas figures it out in 3 days. Come on. But anyway, so they get out of the maze, and they realize that the reasons they're in the maze is because the entire world has been turned into a massive desert by an enormous solar flare that also gave birth to a disease that turns people into plant zombies. And already things are completely off the rails, because the reason these kids were in this maze is because the people running the maze want to use the kids to find a cure to the plant zombie virus. And how these things just don't mesh. Solar flare and maze, they don't mesh. A zombie virus and a solar flare, they don't mesh. How does a maze, how does people solving a maze give you a cure to a zombie virus? And it's not even that they discover in this movie that it's not even that they need to find the cure for the zombie virus. They have the cure for the zombie virus. It just turns out that in order to find out so the cure is they pull some brain crap out of people that are naturally immune, and they take that and they give it to someone who's not immune, and then they're immune, or they're cured of their zombie virus, or whatever, something like that. It's very unclear. But basically, they know what the cure is. They just need to find the people that are the right people that have the brain crap for them to extract. And you need to build a maze for that? Can't you just build a test? Can't you just build a blood test and count their midichlorians or something like that and just see if they're viable as a potential curer of the zombie disease? Like, can't you just scan their brain, or just, like, for every child that is born, extract, like, a little bit of this brain fluid and test it and see if it's the actual thing that will cure the virus? Why do you need these huge fucking mazes? Because that's the other thing. Like I said in my other video, there's not one of these mazes, there's many. 4 or more, who knows? This is a massive, massive thing and they're just throwing random kids in there that are, in the books, they're super smart. In the movies, they don't really go into that too much, or at least I don't remember them going into it that much in the last movie. They completely ignore it here in the Scorch trials. But in order to find this cure, there's much easier ways than the mazes. It's completely unnecessary. So look at Insurgent. Yes, I said that correctly. This movie and its predecessor are so bad, they're making me look at Insurgent positively. So spoilers for Insurgent. At the end, we find out that all of this stuff inside this destroyed version of Chicago, I think it's Chicago, whatever, it doesn't matter. The destroyed, this town that has all these, oh God, what are they called? Divergence and the factions. Yes, there you go. The factions in this town and their awkward metaphor for high school cliques, they're all part of a research for people that live outside of this town, and because the world apparently isn't all destroyed, and they're studying how they're doing things in there together and interacting and stuff. And that's a better metaphor, and that's a better surprise twist, that it's all just a test that doesn't matter in Insurgent than it is in the Maze Runner, because it ties into the metaphors in Insurgent and Divergent, and those are metaphors of high school, the clique nature of going to high school, the different groups. It's Mean Girls on crack, essentially. That's what Divergent and Insurgent are, and that twist, that it's all just a test, ties into that theme, because just as the events of Insurgent and Divergent before the revelation that it's all a test don't really matter, when you graduate high school, you realize that all that social click crack that you put so much value on doesn't matter. So thematically, it fits. I can't believe I just complimented Insurgent on a metaphorical level. That's what you've done to me, the Maze Runner. That's what you've done to me, Scorch Trials. You've made me talk positive about fucking Insurgent. And then there's the bad guys, who aren't actually the bad guys. Because, again, they're trying to cure this zombie virus that's killing all the people that weren't killed by the massive solar flare. And so they're trying to save the world. Yes, their methods for doing it are a bit dickish in that they're, instead of being like, hey, you have the brain thing we need to cure the zombie stuff. Here, how about on a daily basis, you just go see a doctor at some point during the day and they just extract a little bit of this stuff out of you. And then you go about your business and you come back the next day and we just, create a cycle of that. Something where the people can have a choice in whether or not they're donating their brain matter. They're instead just strapping them up in these weird harnesses and just extracting it as they have them permanently sedated in like a near comatose state. First of all, people can only last so long on that. Seriously, I mean, I know that they can last for years, but someone can last even years or longer than those other years if they're living happy, normal lives with exercise and getting out and doing things other than just hanging out in a harness and being sedated until they go brain dead and just collapse into a meat pile of nothingness, and you lose your precious brain matter because the person is dead. Gah! So the only reason that Wicked is the bad guy is because James Dashner wrote them to be the bad guy, and the only reason the kids are heroes is because James Dashner wrote the kids to be heroes. But the kids are fucking selfish dicks. Instead of participating in the program, to save the world, or trying to work with them and find another way of doing this to save the world, they're like, fuck the world and fuck everyone. I don't want to be in one of those harnesses, and they run for it. And no, I get it. Being in those harnesses look incredibly uncomfortable and not like something I would want to go through, but did you ever stop to think that maybe if you just took out the leaders of Wicked and you're right there in the facility and he's right there and you just fucking shoot him and then he's dead, maybe then you can get to do things a different way. If you take out the people that are in charge of the shitty way of doing things, maybe you can find a better, less shitty way of doing it. But no, they're selfish bastards, and so they run for it. And then one of them, spoilers, sells them out, tells Wicked where they are. And so Wicked comes and they capture a couple of them, and that's the end of it. But that girl that sells them out, they're treated like she's a terrible person. And I get it, she's a liar, but she's saving the fucking world! Like, what are you guys going to do with your life? What are you 5 kids going to do with your lives out in the Scorch? You're obviously not going to have the resources to find a cure for this thing on your own because you need the resources and the materials and the manpower that Wicked has. So you're basically condemning the world to get fucked forever so you can live a life. And again, I get it. I probably would consider that too. But then I would also consider the fact that I'm the cure for the zombie virus that's killing the handful of people that are still alive. And take it, Leonard.
The needs of the many outweigh
the needs of the few.
Seriously, that is one of the most iconic lines in history. And these guys, it is fucking hot in Los Angeles. Even at what time is it right now? 12:06. That's actually not too bad for me, all things considered. But wow, it's hot, and I'm sweating like a pig right now. But I guess I still had a lot more to say about the Scorch trials after my last video than I thought I did. I ended it, because I didn't want to go off on a huge thing, but I didn't realize I still had this much to talk about. Wow, this movie is just... And this is the point where I should start wrapping up. I'm at 19 minutes now. Just trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Oh yeah, so here, in my last video I stated that I believed that a solar flare could turn the world into a Mad Max knockoff. But then I did a little research. And we actually have a crazy amount of space junk up and around the sun. I knew we had a lot, but I didn't realize we had this much, because we can basically photograph and film the sun from things in almost any angle and any light spectrum you can really see. It's kind of crazy. So the way we keep track of solar flares, because they're something worth keeping track of. Excuse me again. And we rank them in a way similar to that of the Richter scale that we use to rank earthquakes. In that there's 4 different levels, and each level is 10 times stronger than the previous level. So, the strongest solar flare in human history was an X, which is, the highest rank, and 45. An X45. Most solar flares, are when they're in the X level, go X through 10. It's like A through 10, B through 10, C through 10, M through 10, X through 10. Or maybe there's no C, I can't remember. But anyways, doesn't matter. So, but this was an X45, and that's the biggest solar flare of all time. And you know what it did? A couple people lost HBO for a few days, and a couple people on planes got some radiation poisoning. That wasn't even really that bad. And that was the strongest solar flare of all time. So an X45 does that. So in order for a solar flare to basically destroy the world and create a plant zombie virus, it would probably have to be, I'm going to guess, like an X billion, X trillion, something. Or I don't know, because when you watch a solar flare online, go check out this video. There's a lot. They're fucking pretty, first of all. You should check them out just for that. But they show a solar flare is when a spout of fire kind of comes up off of the sun, and usually in a ring-like manner, and it stays connected to the sun. And those rings are so fucking huge that you can fit like a dozen Earths in the space between the sun and the top of the ring. So, if a dozen Earths can fit in just that space, so that's just an average everyday solar flare, in order for a solar flare to be the X billion and to, destroy the Earth and stuff, I'm pretty sure Mercury and Venus are just gone. Just need to throw that out there right now, like just to wrap your head around the concept of how big this solar flare would have to be. And also, why does it kill all plant life and turn the world into a massive desert, but the zombies it creates are plant zombies? So, like, is it just a mutated hyperplant that causes the zombie virus to happen? Like, does, like, a Venus flytrap, like, bite a dude one day after the sun went all splody and stuff, and then that person became the first zombie, and it just kind of spread from there? Or is this a sequel to The Happening? Did James Dashner, are you M. Night? Are you M. Night Shyamalan, James Dashner? Are you M. Night Shyamalan, James Dashner? I bet you are, because... Oh my god, how did I not think of this until right now? It's a fucking sequel to The Happening. That's what the Maze Runner and Scorch trials are. They're 1,000-year in the future sequel to The Happening. Sure. That would explain so much. But I'm at 22 minutes, and I think I need to start wrapping up now, because I think I'm officially out of ideas. So that is my extended rant on the Maze Runner, the Scorch trial. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that we're able to continue this adventure together, and I hope that whoever gets to pick what my review's going to be, picks something awesome. I love this. This is so fun. Like, I don't even want to stop talking right now, because I just love doing this so much, and the fact that, again, so many people out there are willing to allow me to continue to do it. And wow, I really am sweaty, and I could definitely use a haircut right now. So thank you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for enjoying this weird shit that I do, and have a good one.